And I want to start off with this one, the law of reaction and Newton's third law of action and reaction. Let's go with that. Thanks.
Motion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction, provides a compelling analogy for spiritual dynamics. In Chapter 20, the concept suggests that just as physical actions produce reactions, our spiritual choices trigger consequences. Whether through obedience to God's covenant or actions against it, a corresponding spiritual outcome follows. This law aligns with biblical principles of sowing and reaping, where both blessings and curses reflect the direct impact of our decisions. This principle also emphasizes that God's covenant operates on an immutable framework, especially under the Old Covenant, where following the law resulted in blessings and disobedience led to curses. It raises the idea that spiritual realities are not random. They function with precision, much like natural laws. The reaction to obedience in spiritual terms may not always be immediate, but eventually divine justice prevails, mirroring the law of reaction. However, the new covenant introduces a shift in this dynamic. With the advent of grace through Jesus, there is room for mercy, adding an element of randomness or delayed consequence. The chapter suggests that while actions still have consequences, the new covenant allows for interventions of forgiveness, altering the rigid cause and effect relationship seen under the Old Covenant. This reflects a balance between law and grace, where divine mercy tempers absolute justice. This discussion invites us to consider how our spiritual actions carry weight, not just in personal growth, but also in shaping the world around us. By living according to God's principles, we align ourselves with the natural and spiritual laws of creation, fostering harmony in our lives and the world.
Did you know that in Jewish thought that there's a concept called measure for measure? It says that for every action that we take, there's an opposite reaction or reaction to it. In other words, if you bless somebody, show some love to somebody, then in turn you'll receive that same blessing or love. It could be measured out more or less than greater than what you gave out, but that's the idea. And it goes along with cursing, and it has to do with blessings and curses as talked about in the Hebrew Bible. Actually, I think it was Joshua who talked about it before the children of Israel went into the land to conquer it. He said, choose this day whom you will serve. Choose God that you'll live, or choose not God that you'll die. I think in Newton's law, using this action and reaction, that there's a parallel, maybe, or maybe some kind of relationship. And I think that this Newton law kind of strengthens our argument that science proves that God exists, because if Newton's law didn't exist when measure for measure was being written by God in the Torah, then that kind of just goes to show that the science came after the fact, that the Jewish people already had the science down,